Bhagya, Ramo, and Prasad.
Yeah, Jaykumarji, that aparoksham, paroksham, what parameter did you want us to put that under? Knowledge has a role? Is it the same?
Yeah. So, for our purposes, science, Paroksha Jnanam, Karmakanda, Paroksha Jnanam, and Vedanta, Aparoksha Jnanam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We just said that, sometimes this idea of direct and indirect knowledge is there. Even when I say Brahma Asti, Satyajnanam Brahma, Anantam Brahma Asti, if I say, there is, Shastram is talking about a Brahma, if I say, that is the extent of my knowledge, then that knowledge is Paroksha Jnanam. Because it is knowledge of a Brahma. It's another object, like so many other things are there. Science is talking about so many things, including galaxies, faraway galaxies. Shastram is talking about a Brahma that exists. I still haven't understood. What I have not understood, Aham Brahma Asmi iti I have not understood. Brahma Asti iti I have studied a lot. Therefore, it is still theory for me. It is not going to give me moksha. Brahma Asti Jnanam won't give me moksha. Aham Brahma Asmi iti Jnanam eva mokshaha dadati. Moksham dadati. Correct?
Okay. So that's why we put it as aparoksha. But
That's why we say aparoksha jnanam. Even though paroksha jnanam is involved, before aparoksha jnanam, it is all paroksha jnanam. Always it is true. Before aparoksha jnanam, it is always paroksha jnanam. I come into the class for the first time, I'm listening to a lot. And jnanam is happening, obviously. But all that is paroksha jnanam because I have not really understood the final thing. And one day, if I understand, then I can say that I have aparoksha jnanam of Brahma, of Atma. Until then, it's knowledge that is indirect.
hmm.
Indirect, because direct means it has to include me.
So why did
Something
we
like
put
that.
why did we
Tell
put
me.
paroksha for science? Why? Because it can be both paroksha and aparoksha, right? Even science.
Yeah, in the example I gave, it is aparoksha. Paroksha jnanam of jackfruit became aparoksha jnanam of jackfruit, correct? So
Yeah.
yeah, you can put both. You can put both there also. There also. But paroksha jnanam I put because the theory is all paroksha jnanam.
Mm.
Theory is paroksha. That's why it's all theory, humbug. It's all theory, they say. What do you mean humbug? It is all, this is Newton's laws, these are. What humbug you are talking? Okay. Put it in paroksha jnanam if you want. It's not knowledge, all right. Knowledge of the non-self, that also is fine. Indirect or direct, if you say, what to do? 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Is it direct knowledge or indirect knowledge? Tell me.
Direct, right?
You know, you can't get more accurate than the statement 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. It is direct knowledge. But if somebody says it is theory, you have to put it in practice, then what do you do? Yeah, you can say it is direct knowledge. That's fine. So that's why this paroksha, aparoksha category I did not put initially because it doesn't fit neatly in these three columns. It doesn't fit neatly. You
Guruji,
just leave it as a topic of.
can I ask a question since it's related to that? My
Yeah.
understanding of aparaksha jnanam is also that it is self-revealing, like you don't need any senses or objects or even a thought. It is there. That is what aparaksha jnanam is, that you are that. So is it like when we say indirect that we are using some means like our senses or thoughts and things to understand a concept? Versus aparoksha jnanam is it is a self-revealing thing.
See, it is self-revealing, all right. Atma is self-revealing, but I still don't know Atma. That's why we call it Jnanam, no doubt. Until I know it, until I hear it, I won't know it, even though it is there very much. and I exist, but I don't know what is this I that exists. Okay, that's the problem there. And even there, Mohaniji, even there, as I'm listening, I'm gaining paroksha jnanam of Atma.
Mhm.
Because it's not assimilated properly. So many words are there. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha. If I hear, I'm able to understand the words, but still I'm not connecting to Atma yet.
Yeah, because I'm
It is still an.
understanding it as an object, right? Because I'm making that as an object and trying to conceptualize that, and which
Yeah,
is
you can
what
say that.
we initially do that, right? So that's what I'm trying to see. Does it fall in that category or not? Am I understanding it correctly or not? Is my question.
Yeah. So that is correct. So because paroksha means remote, away from me. Away from me means then science has access to it.
Mm.
Because I'm going to use the pramanams that are available to me to peer into that thing that is away from me. And so paroksha jnanam often, always also you can say, requires the use of pratyaksha and anumana,
Mhm.
paroksha jnanam.
Mhm.
Okay. When it comes to science and this laukika,
Mhm.
anatma vidya, anything anatma, paroksha jnanam, involving our sense organs.
Mm.
And now you come to this atma, sense organs are not useful. But still the jnanam we are gaining in our classes can be put under paroksha jnanam. We're defining paroksha jnanam differently. Indirect knowledge. Even though I'm not using my sense organs to understand Atma,
Mhm.
that part is very clear. But still, I'm not. It is not understood as the knowledge of the self. It is understood as something. It's a description of Atma. It is a description of Atma.
Yeah. Yeah. Brahma Asti. I mean, basically what we are learning, Brahma Asti.
Brahma Asti is called Paroksha Jnanam. Brahma Asti is called Paroksha Jnanam.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there is. I can't put it. That's why I said this row.
Thank
I
you.
did not put there, but there is something that we have
I need
to
to read up on this. I don't know. I
be
would
aware of
try to
that.
understand.
All your ideas are all correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm.
Thank you, Kumarji.
Yeah, Bhagya. Yeah, all right. Ramo, Prasad, Ani, and Prema.
And sorry, there is a statement you said that plants are all consciousness. Science has not accepted it. There's one small correction in that. Bose has proved that scientifically proved that plants have consciousness.
Sorry, plants not included in that list. Plants not included because it's living being. Living versus non-living.
There's
Living versus non-living.
a
Yeah.
statement by somebody, whether it is a scientific or a philosopher. He says it sleeps in plants and stones and lives in man and all like that regarding consciousness. I will search the statement.
Okay.
It sleeps and awakes and lives in man. That statement.
Okay.
I don't know whether it is a philosopher or a scientist. The foreigner has said that. Prasad used to quote it.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Prasad ji, go ahead.
Namaste, Kumarji. So my question is on, I understand Paroksha, Aparoksha point of view, what you're saying. But when you say theory and practice, when it comes to the third column of the table, that's where my question is. I understand we cannot argue our way to Brahman. It is, when you say alogical to karma, I would say that it is not that it is not logical when you talk about Brahman, but it is supralogical. So the logic points out to that, I mean, because we have to say Brahman. So logic points out to that, and then we have to intuitively catch it. So up to that point, which is Paroksha, so I should still consider as, because Vachadya and the Lakshadya, I keep it aside the Lakshadya part of it. Vachyartha, because all that, otherwise I'll stop coming to the class from tomorrow because I don't need anything, right? So, I mean, when I say that, the meaning is like, this is still a practice because we have manana, Sravana, manana is continuing. So I wanted clarification about when you say it is not theory and practice, till the point it is pointed out. Then it is aparoksha because every experience um, um, is a first-hand experience because every experience is from the first-person experience, right? So then only it is aparoksha. The question is that the theory and practice, when it is vacha, as we are going through that right now, when you say it is not theory and practice.
Yeah. So when it comes to knowledge, really speaking, the entire field of knowledge itself, what did we say? Vastu Tantram. Knowledge rests on an object, and when topics relate to Vastu Tantram, really speaking, even simple, even though it comes under the category of science, look at this. Simply show an object and say, what is this? What does this means? I want you to know what this is. And you're telling me it's a pot. It's a pot. So as far as knowledge is concerned, there is no theory practice dichotomy. Is that correct? As far as knowledge is concerned, there is no theory practice dichotomy. Theory practice only comes when you are expected to do something. Then only theory practice idea comes. Some theory is there which you have to put in practice. You already know what you're going to do. That is jnana. What you must do to get what you want. That is all jnana. I'm hungry now, I have to eat something, and to eat something, I have to make something. And to make something, I have to buy something. All these things are there. Knowledge is there. So much knowledge is there. And what I must buy, etc., everything I know. So everything I know. So then theory practice comes. When you're expected to do something. When you bring karma into the picture, it is theory practice. When karma has no role to play, no role to play when, like the guy who is searching for his whatever eyeglasses or key bunch, for want of knowledge, for want of shabda pramanam, correct? For want of shabda pramanam, that ignorance makes him run around and makes everybody, all his family members also run around along with him. And everybody is now anxious. This is samsara. So that was my intention, Prasad. Okay. So therefore, in the issue, in the topic of Atma, which is revealing what is, that knowledge itself is the end. Knowledge itself is the end. Like in these examples, Dashamaha, etc. And therefore, theory practice has no role. The thinking along those lines has no role at all here. And because no practice is needed, this guy who found his key bunch, the problem is already solved. Therefore, he doesn't have to practice anything. He doesn't have to think about what he said. Thinking is also over. Understanding is over. Problem is solved. Everything happened in a fraction of a second. And so, in fact, the entire karma is negated. That is the power of that Shabda Pramanam. So powerful it is. Just those words. Why didn't I think about it, he says at the end. After all running around, why didn't I think about it? How could I do this? I'm doing it every day. You're doing this every day. That's a different problem. But that's a beauty. That's a power of jnanam. This is Laukika example we are giving. This is just Laukika example. And that itself is so powerful. It just puts an end to all karma. And the problem is solved completely. There is no theory practice dichotomy in this example. Why? Because jnanam is pradhanam here. When you praptasya prapti, when we are trying to solve a problem, in the praptasya prapti category, karma has no role to play. This is what we lachanto. Then you use the word vachyartha, lakshyartha, etc. Yeah, that has to be brought in because the confusion is about the self. The self is known to me. You are coming and telling me self is not known to me. Now, the challenge is there now. Two different views are there. I thought I know myself. You are telling me I don't know myself. So, big discussion. What is the discussion? It is going from vachyartha to lakshyartha. Vachyartha of the word I is what? This body, mind, sense complex. I had lunch an hour ago, so I don't need anything now. Thank you. I had lunch an hour ago means it's referring to this BMS complex. I got a degree. I got 5 degrees with me. Okay, all vachyartha about the self that you and I can understand. But Shastram is talking about lakshyartha. This is what you're talking. You use the word lakshyartha. All right. Lakshyartha is there in many cases, not just in Vedanta. In our daily life also, we often use lakshyartha, implied meaning. Implied meaning. So, I didn't bring the vachyartha lakshyartha because it's not unique to Vedanta. It is just implied meaning.
Guruji, is it also like Vastu Tantra and Purusha Tantra? Like the differentiation that you're saying is effort is not needed when the object is front of you, pramana is there and conditions are okay, jnana happens. No karma is needed for Vastu Tantra. Whereas for Purusha, like where we have to make an effort is where you have to apraptasya prapti, like basically you don't have it and you want to gain it. Is that what you're trying to tell or?
Vastu Tantram means knowledge rests on the object. Purusha Tantram means karma rests on the human being, on the person. That is the meaning of Vastu Tantram. Means Vastu, any object, you can't decide what this object is. That is the meaning of Vastu Tantra.
Okay.
Despite all the free will human beings have, human being cannot decide what this object is. You have to surrender to your pramanam. You have to surrender to your eyes. You completely surrender, 100% surrender.
Hmm.
Why you should 100% surrender? Because this is Vastu Tantram. We are talking about knowledge. If I ask you to tell me what is there in my hand, what free will do you have? Maximum free will, you have to decide, okay, I'm going to open my eyes. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. After that, what? You surrender to the Praman. Vastu Tantram. Because now the entire study of going to college, all degrees we get is all purely Vastu Tantram. Pure means pure, 100%. Even though there is lab work and this and that, but lab work is meant only to understand that thing that was taught in the class. And you dissect a lizard and cockroach and all that. And I've done some of that in school these days, I don't know if they do all this, but in biology lab and all, I did that. And frog, viscera of a frog. I think they use the word viscera for that, I think. So I did that. Why do you do all this? Why? Why do you have to cut a frog? Well, until then it is all paroksha jnanam that was there in the teacher showed all these maps of the internals of a frog. But now for me it's now I understand. But I understood that is still Vastu Tantram. After all the karma of cutting and seeing and microscope and all that, still finally it is Vastu Tantram. Frog decides what the frog is. I don't decide. All I can do is discover. I can surrender to the pramanam and discover, learn more. And that's how we're all experts at in our own respective fields. Even though our resume says I accomplished this, I accomplished that. A lot of karma, a lot of Purusha Tantram is there. Purusha Tantram. This resume is full of Purusha Tantram, correct? Because every sentence starts with the verb. Demonstrated, led. Look at this. You should always say I led something. You should say I did. I did means everybody is doing. What is the difference between your did and my did? Okay. I led a team. Aha. I collaborated with. Aha. Everything is a verb. Means everything is Purusha Tantram. I know if you say, okay, that you put later. That's why they put skills and others, computer skills. I know Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, and I know. Why did you put on top? I know. Because there are many people who know this. And so this knowing itself is not enough. It's good. Certain things are good to know. But the knowing is not enough. What did you do with what you know? That's what they're looking for. I worked as so and so, which my whole role was to use Microsoft Excel, and I did this and I did that. I did Visual Basic. I developed applications in Excel. If you say, "Wow, this guy is not an ordinary Excel fellow," or I was an analyst, and so I had to all day long. I was writing formulas in Excel. If you say, "All right," that means you know a little bit. You know the internals of Excel. So.
Thank you, Guruji. So it comes in case of free will. I was getting confused with what you were explaining to Prasadji. That's why I asked the question in the middle. Didn't mean to take it in a different direction.
So all jnanam is Vastu Tantra. Whether it is Anatma Vidya or Atma Vidya, it is all Vastu Tantra.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That is why science is constantly growing, and no science, we are coming to an end. We have studied everything like that. They can't say, because jnanam is endless. Endless it is. And it's all Vastu Tantra. Free will is not involved. Free will is involved only to push me to go to college or go to a course or to go to the lab and do something or I mean, that's where free will is involved. But after that, I have to surrender to the pramana. Surrender to the which is what our scientists do, and which is what our who is the inventor of this penicillin? Fleming, I think. Fleming or
Yeah, Alexander Fleming.
Alexander Fleming. That's what he did. He was growing some bacteria, and the bacteria constantly died. Never grew it. And he could have said, "It's my karma that I can't grow this bacteria." Instead, you know what he did? He said, "What is it that's making this bacteria die?" And he started looking for, his whole topic was bacteria, but he now started looking at all the side things, all the species, chemicals, and all. He started analyzing, and then he found that this particular thing, which I'm now going to call antibiotic, is what is killing bacteria. And so penicillin was born. My God. Where did he start and where did he end up? Why did he end up there? Because he was open. He surrendered to his pramanam. He did not blame his stars and all these things. He just said, I'm going to observe what is going on. Even though I have an idea, I want to study these things. His goal was not to invent penicillin. Serendipitously, he invented penicillin. My God, and changed the whole course of life. Amazing. So that is why, that is because that Alexander Fleming, like other scientists and other people, they surrender to the pramanam. They don't have the anxiety, pressure. They're not being pushed by pressure to say, I must come get something out of this. Then I'll miss out the signals that are there, constantly waiting. So anyway, that's all Vastu Tantra.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anirudh and then Prema.
Sorry. Actually, just a quick, I just lost thoughts on that actually, but I have a quick question. So when you science, when you talk about there's a problem here today, a hard problem of consciousness. So they could not figure out, like you said. So that's there are very notable cognitive science scientists like David Chalmers and Christopher Koch and all that, going through all that. Now, when you talk about so we have pramana characteristics like anadhigata, ardhabodhigatvam, so and swata siddha, I think. So if you apply these to science, they don't, I mean, of course, they are not definitions for science, but these are the definitions for pramana in Vedanta. Suppose if you take that as a standard within the standard, apply to the science, may not hold good there, right? Because Swata Siddha, what is known through that, that is the knowledge which we gain in Vedanta. So that is not part of science, correct? So the pramana characteristic does not hold good for science. Well, they may not accept as characteristics of pramana for them.
So we're going to talk about this next class.
Okay.
So this whole consciousness within the science, the field of consciousness studies versus our consciousness. So it's a topic that's coming up. But to answer your question briefly, for them, consciousness is an observable. I'm saying the essence of the observer consciousness I'm talking about. So like that, the discussion should go.
Yeah. So when we try
And
to
there's more.
explain,
And there's a lot more. And therefore, and they stretch it. And then they say, consciousness evolves from material. We say material evolves from consciousness. Arrows are pointing in two different directions. We're going to talk about it next class, okay? All right, Prasad ji?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Very interesting it will be. Yeah, Anirudh, go ahead.
Yeah, so Jaykumarji, this one I'll just make a brief. But one thing we have to sort of also keep in mind when we talk about science is that for the same phenomena, science changes. Correct. So what 400 years, 500 years back, Newton said gravity is a force. Today they are saying gravity is a curvature of space and time. Science has changed. So I think that's one thing which and tomorrow something else might be said and science will change again. Right? So I think this is for us Vedanta also, I mean, leave Vedanta. Vedanta is unchangeable in that sense of Brahmatnya, Atmadyan, Brahmatyan, unchangeable. Perhaps we can also say Karma Kanda is also unchangeable, given the fact that there was it was first heard and now it's written. So between the heard and written, there might have been some changes, but it is on the whole not going to change. But science will for the same phenomena, science will keep changing, right? That's one thing I wanted to make mention of.
Good.
Right, and we can I don't know, again I just thought in our categorization we should include that. I think sorry, just making some statements and moving on. I think second part is consciousness.
So before you go,
Yes.
when you say changes, are you saying the knowledge itself changes? Are we correcting ourselves and say, no, that was not really correct. This is what I'm going to say today is correct. Is that the way you,
Yes,
is that what you mean by change?
Right. That's how the body of science keeps on evolving, right? That's why we are
Good.
saying science will never end. Correct?
Good. There is a major implication to what you just said.
Correct.
That what is the major implication? The implication is I really did not know. I really did not know. I said this is what is the truth and people believed it, but now I am
Yes.
correcting myself.
Correct.
That means,
Absolutely.
really speaking, we are giving scientists a lot of credit.
Correct.
We are giving the body of knowledge a lot of credit. There is a lot of ajnanam in this body of knowledge.
Correct.
It's all
Yes.
so much ajnanam is involved here. So much ajnanam that science cannot but grow.
That's right.
It provides so much opportunity for everybody. Why? Because ajnanam is there. It's loaded with ajnanam. And but I give it a lot of benefit of doubt and
Better
say
doubt. Yes, definitely.
here is vidya. It is, I give it a name also, apara vidya, but it's vidya still, not avidya.
Correct.
And so what you said reveals a fact, important fact, which is that the knowledge of an object can never be complete.
Complete. Correct.
Never be complete. And therefore, you are constantly not only improving on what you know, you are also constantly changing what you have said before.
Correct. Correct.
Correcting what you've said before. Imagine
Correct.
correcting something. Hey, it was published in papers and journals, textbooks are talking about it. Today you're saying it's all wrong.
Correct.
What audacity? What is audacity? Can you believe the audacity that is there? That
Right.
guy got Nobel Prize for something. Now he's saying, no, it is there. He doesn't deserve a Nobel Prize. But he deserves a Nobel Prize because it was still a very important topic, and it made a lot of, it created a whole new field of consciousness, something like that.
Yes. Right. Right. Right.
And so what science changes when you say, see, now the question is, does knowledge change? Let science change. But suppose I ask a question, does knowledge change?
The theory of knowledge doesn't change. The body of knowledge changes.
Okay. Okay. The theory of knowledge means, okay, that theory of knowledge
Yes, that
doesn't
you have to
change.
study. Yes, yes, doesn't change.
That you have to discover. The human mind has to
Correct, correct.
discover that theory. And that is a very long process involving a lot of effort and analysis, and no guess. Anybody can guess what the outcome of this analysis is going to be. And that outcome is a could be a poor imitation of the theory of knowledge, correct? And that poverty in that imitation will hopefully reduce with time and
Correct.
improve. Yeah.
Correct, correct. I think Guruji also we have to include role of free will in all these three categories. It's a big topic. I'm sure you'll do it next time, but I think make a free will. What role does it play in these three? There is a much to be talked about there.
Good. We can.
Yeah, and just one other thing, Guruji, consciousness. So the neurological definition of consciousness is one thing, right? But then we also know that these quantum physics guys are prone to saying that once you observe, you change, and the observer doesn't need to be a human being. They've said that when they conducted those double slit experiments, I mean, again, I don't want to bore people, but when they conducted those double slit experiments, the observers in the double slits were actually cameras, no human beings. The moment the cameras were put, the experiment changed, right? So is that obviously you can't say a camera is a living being, so it doesn't have the theoretical or the neurological definition of consciousness. However, an observership changing the observed outcome, I think nobody can fight that. Nobody can contest that, is what I'm trying to say. So while we use in Vedanta studies, we use consciousness to be an all-encompassing word. In the scientific body of pursuit or whatever, consciousness and observership, they have somehow started making that dichotomy. To what ends it goes, God knows. But I think if you look at it, a camera, I mean, how can you say it's a conscious object, but yet putting an observer there changes the experiment. So again, very confusing, but something to be talked about.
All right. Now, what is the connection between that camera observership changing the observed versus role of consciousness?
Yeah, correct. So the moment there is, so let's say this is the study of how a particular particle behaves, right? A photon, electron, whatever, right? One laser, whatever. How does a particle behave? The particle behaves in a certain way as per an observed phenomena when there is no third party contaminating it. Correct? So when the double slit experiment is carried out, you get an interference band when there is no observer. But the moment you put a camera, the interference band disappears. Correct? So that consciousness, or rather the observer, or introducing an observer into this, into this system, changes the outcome. So how do you explain that? You can't. I mean, you can't, using the standard means of our Laukika examples, you can't explain that. So I'm just saying that the consciousness business is confusing in at all levels, as far as the scientific community is concerned.
And so in the example you cited, I still don't see the significance of consciousness.
Okay, because the scientific community imputes consciousness only on living beings. They have with much grudging. They have accepted S.N. Bose's plants being conscious. There was a lot of controversies behind that, but that still doesn't so let's say we take that at face value, saying that only living beings are conscious. What you can't then explain is, how does a camera change? Is there not consciousness somehow?
No, but there is an assumption. There is an assumption. Somebody is making an assumption that I still don't see why consciousness has to come in this example of camera watching this phenomenon. Camera is an insentient entity and phenomenon is going on, and you're telling me that even there in this situation, the observed gets affected.
Correct.
The situation of the observed gets affected. Okay, affected. It's okay, so be it. That means that's another data point. That's another data point which says that an insentient thing observing also, you are able to see this, just like a sentient being observing also, same thing happens, you're saying. Okay, two data point is there. Now what? Now what does that tell me about consciousness? It doesn't tell me anything about consciousness. In fact, anything you want to say about consciousness through this experiment is wrong, because the consciousness, you are just telling me that even a conscious entity observation affects the observed, and even the not conscious entity observing the observed changes the observed, you're saying.
Correct.
That means what? Consciousness has no role to play at all. Possibly, I don't know. You're giving me two contrary data points, which tells me consciousness presence or not presence is irrelevant. Observed always gets changed by the observer. That's what I'm hearing from this.
Right. And what I'm saying is that the observership is consciousness. And maybe that's a big leap, but that's what I'm trying to say. The observership is consciousness,
According to science.
And the fact that they are or the scientific thinking does not non-sentient or non-living observers can have an influence. I think that starts being shaky. I'm not making a point as such. I'm just describing where some of the handshakes are little missing.
Sure. So good. Yeah. So that means, are they saying that first they found a human being peering into all these waves and particles that does impact the observed particle, number one. Then they are saying, oh, wait a minute, camera is not a human being, not a living being, and camera also seems to impact the observed, if they say.
Yes.
What is the conclusion from that experiment,
Correct.
The reality is not fixed, but based on the observation. The reality is not fixed because it is about the reality they're talking about. In classical physics, it doesn't depend upon the object appear independently of observation, whereas in quantum mechanics, it depends upon that. So they are saying like it is equivalent of the mind, how it changes. So in Buddhism, it is like the mind only, the Yogacara Buddhism, where it is the mind. So it's a parallels with the quantum mechanics observer effect with respect to mind only school of Buddhism. So anything observed, it is changing. The double slit experiment is actually, it is an observer effect, which means that, hey, you cannot say that reality is fixed. So like our constant unchanging consciousness, sort of, that is how they are coming to.
So maybe that's a clue that the reality that we say, the world that we say is real. Hopefully that provides a window of opportunity for scientists to say that there is some other reality behind this observed reality, something like that.
Maybe.
Something like that. I hope. I don't know. I don't see scientists flocking to Vedanta, so we don't know what.
Yeah.
Good. That's good to know. That's good to know. So we have to be careful about what conclusions to draw from all these experiments and so forth. But it's good. Good, keeps our mind fertile and open and surrender to pramana. There also you have to surrender to pramana. Double slit, you have to surrender to pramana. That's why they say wave particle becomes wave, wave becomes particle. If they didn't have that surrendership, they would not have seen it. Good. Thank you. Yeah. Premaji and then Ramoji.
Namaste, Guruji. Is it simplistic to compare the Paroksha and the Aparoksha to Preyas and Shreyas? Because if you compare it, does the Paroksha become an intellectual exercise, and the Aparoksha becomes an experiential anubhuti or experience where there is a transformation happening within you to change, either by Shabda Pramanam or whatever, to become something from which there is no return, because you have become. Am I connecting the dots properly?
So the experience changes everything is what you're saying.
One is experiential, the other one is investigation through intellectual exercises to prove. Here, whatever comes out, something touches your inner, and that transforms you into realizing that you are, or asti. And then there is no point of return from that, and that you're free. So if that is the perspective, so what we are trying to say here is one is effective, the other one is search. Correct?
First word is what? What is the first word? One is
a search for identifying what is, and the other one is experiential, where you become, and from that point of becoming, there is no return.
Right, right. So this brings up an important topic of knowledge versus experience. Because experience is also a big entity, big factor in our lives. Okay. Vedanta introduces knowledge as a very important factor. Okay. And so what is the connection or relationship between these two? Knowledge and experience. Okay. We'll explore this in the next class. I'll spend some time on this. Okay. Because it's an important question. Because so far in this table, I don't see the word experience. Is it not? I don't see that word. So let's bring that in. And I think we can make some inroads into
Thank you,
that topic
Guruji,
as well.
for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय धन्वन्तरये अमृतकलशहस्ताय सर्वामयविनाशनाय त्रैलोक्यनाथाय श्रीमहाविष्णवे नमः।